One show wasn't enough, plain and simple. That game was my nerves are starting to settle down a little bit, Jannelle, but that was still a shocking conclusion to a colossally disappointing game. But at least if you're a Golden State Warriors fan, if you're an OKC Thunder fan, you are exuberant, you are joyful, you're having a wonderful Saturday night. Not Dub Nation. We're going to break down what went wrong. We got some sound from Steve Kerr and Jonathan Kuminga. Didn't even get a chance to give him love in part one. So we're going to break it all down next. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tonight's episode, I apologize, is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more right now. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. You can follow Jannelle more. She writes for ESPN's Andscape. She writes for the Mercury News. She writes for a whole bunch of other publications as well, not just basketball coverage, also NFL and then some. On Twitter, at Jannelle12. You can also follow her on Threads, at Writer Diva. You can follow me, Cyrus, Saatsaz, on Threads. That's where I'm exclusively at. My handle's easy. Dog Wild. Jannelle, one show was not enough. We had to follow up because we didn't even touch on some players that actually performed well, like Jonathan Kuminga, for example. We also got some sound from Steve Kerr talking about that final game in regulation, excluding overtime, and what his strategy is when it comes to those end of game shots if your team's ahead by 3 points. Jannelle, what do you want to start with? Should we listen to Steve Kerr first? Should we start with a positive of maybe Kuminga? What are you feeling? Which direction should we go with? I'll leave it to you.
Let's go with Kuminga.
All right. I love it. Kuminga tonight, I thought had a great game. The plus minus doesn't show that. But again, plus minus is an incredibly subjective stat that does not necessarily reflect how a player performed overall. It's the 5-man units when it is objective. But besides the plus minus where Kuminga was a team low minus 18, I thought he had a solid game. In my humble opinion, in 20 minutes of action, he had 13 points, had 5 rebounds, was 6 for 10 from the field, made a lot of shots that kept the Warriors in the game early. And his size is obviously advantageous. He added 2 assists. I think personally his passing game has drastically improved. I mean, he's constantly looking for alternative scoring options out there. I absolutely love the progress of this kid. I know he's not at a level a lot of people are hoping for, Jannelle, which is like this all-star level player. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record saying this, but Jonathan Kuminga is the same age Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson were their rookie years. So it is not, I don't think it's reasonable to expect an all-star level player for an individual who just turned 21 years of age. But nonetheless, a lot of people wish for that. I thought he did fine tonight, and Kuminga was asked, and when we come back from the soundbite, Jannelle, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Kuminga, but JK was asked about the mood in the locker room, particularly after a game like this, and his answer was, in my humble opinion, encouraging. Here is Jonathan Kuminga talking about how the team is feeling after their 6th straight loss.
Jonathan, what is the morale like right now in the locker room? 6 games in a row is tough for any team, even a team like the Warriors. How do you guys keep yourselves focused on trying to just change the narrative right now and start winning?
We're great. We're good. We're actually good. It's just a matter of time. Things like this that's kind of separate people, but with us, it's not the way. I feel like it actually bringing us together even more, because once we get over these lows, things gonna change, and ain't nobody gonna remember 6 losses in a row. Because once we start rolling, everything gonna be just fine.
Are you worried about the separation that's happening in terms of the other teams in the conference? I know this year you guys wanted to get off to a good start, and now it seems like you're trying to maybe climb another uphill battle.
No, we actually started good. Like I say, it's only a matter of time. We actually started good. And things just haven't went the way we wanted the past couple of games. It's only 6 games, so we have a long season ahead of us. So that's not something we really worry about.
I love it. I love this kid, Jannelle. I feel great about his future. Again, some people I think are having unrealistic expectations regarding a player who just turned 21 years old. Again, Stephen Curry and Clay were the same age their rookie years. Jannelle, what are your thoughts on this young man? Not just tonight. I thought he played a solid game, but also overall to start the season. I mean, he was very optimistic in that soundbite. Your thoughts, Jannelle, and thanks for sticking with me for part 2. Good to see you.
Yes. Kuminga, I mean, what he said is what I expect him to say right now. I mean, again, even though the Warriors are on a 6-game losing streak, this is still mid to late November. This isn't April.
Mm-hmm.
And there's time to turn it around. I mean, we're 14 games in, and their morale should be even keel, not freaking out too much about getting a win and not, just being too overly optimistic. It should be even keel. I mean, they know what they need to do. They should have won last night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They should have won last night. They know that they should have won last night. And, they just have to turn the page and get ready for Monday against a tough and young and long and athletic Houston Rockets team.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of time to dwell on this.
Real quick, when it comes to the Rockets, what do you attribute to their turnaround? They have a lot of young talent on that team. They've been an awful team for the last few years. They bring in Ime Udoka. To me, the head coaching change is clearly what has turned that team around. What do you attribute to the Rockets, the Warriors' next team, being successful now to start the year?
It's my cat, Kobe.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I got a cat named Kobe.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen. Oh, hey, what's up? You named your cat Kobe?
Yeah, I named her Kobe, yes.
Hi, Kobe. How old is Kobe?
She about maybe 2 or 3.
Oh, that is precious. Thank you for introducing the audience.
Anyway,
that was awesome.
Yeah, the Rockets turnaround, as most of it is Ime Udoka, but what's underrated here and understated here is the kind of veterans they have in Van Vliet and even Dylan Brooks. They have a mixture. They have the right mixture of youth and a little bit of veteran influence, and plus a no nonsense coach like Udoka.
Yep.
That's what really galvanized their performance this season.
Yeah, Udoka
aren't they among the top in defense?
I could look that up in just a second here. The Rockets right now in the standings are 6th with a 6-4 record. The Warriors, after tonight's loss, have dropped to 10th, 2 games below 500 at 6-8. When it comes to the stats on the year in terms of team leaders, let me look up defense. That's what we're talking about here. I don't have net rating in front of me per 100 possessions, but I do have points per game. And right now, the Rockets have the 3rd best defense in the NBA. That is damn impressive. And that's Coach Ime Udoka. You're right. He's a no-nonsense guy. For some reason, I feel like players.
He's a defensive-minded coach, too.
Yes, he is. He absolutely is. And the Warriors, meanwhile, are 14th in the NBA in defense. They're giving up 112.1 points per game. And again, the Rockets are at 105.8. But yeah, Ime Udoka, I feel like players are afraid of him. Like, it's just, if he gets in your face and he's not happy, like for some reason, players just don't want to deal with that. And they just would rather, just obey and just listen to what their coach has to say and follow orders. Udoka definitely seems like an example of someone who can bring out the best in a team. I guess a good example of when a coach can have an incredibly positive impact. But That is the next team. Someone in the chat, Jannelle, asked if Kobe can play defense for the Golden State Warriors. Your thoughts? I'm obviously
That's cute.
being facetious. No, your cat is adorable. We're going to talk about Steve.
Yeah, she is adorable.
She is. Yeah, I loved her face. Cute face. Someone in the chat mentioned, by the way, if we touched on where is that chat? Right here from Mitchell Brothers. Oh, is that the same Mitchell Brothers that owns the establishment in San Francisco? I'm kidding. I doubt it. But you're asking if we talked about the foul call on Wiggins in the fourth quarter with the clean contact from the chest. I'm guessing you're referring to the one that Kerr challenged.
Yeah.
Did touch on that. We actually played. That's in part 1, which is now available on YouTube. If you want to go check that out, we did touch on that. We're going to talk more, though, about that third quarter because Steve Kerr also talked about that as well. Jannelle and I really harped on the fact that what happened in the third changed the whole dynamic of this game. It went from a game that the Warriors were in complete control of. They were up 79-61, and then the Thunder went on a 22-6 run, and everything changed, and the Warriors never recovered. So we're going to touch on that. Maybe get into a little more about the future of this team. Jannelle, I'm very curious to know from your perspective how you feel about them long term. Like, are the Warriors still championship contenders? Save that answer for when we come back. Because I want to give some love first to FanDuel, the official sports book of the Locked On Podcast Network. We have a lot of sports going on simultaneously right now, all of which is super fun if you're into gambling. I really wish FanDuel was available here in California, although my good friend Kevin Dana, the voice of the Santa Cruz Warriors, who I hope to get on the show again soon, maybe week after next, has suggested VPN for you folks out there that want to play FanDuel here in California. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. What does that mean? Well, just place any bet, $5 worth, on a team that you think is going to win. Moneyline bet means you're not betting spreads. You're not betting on a team to win by a certain number of points. It's just a flat out win makes you win with a moneyline bet. So place a $5 moneyline bet on a surefire winner. Those always exist. They're the types of bets that you would never normally bet on with the money line because the return is so minimal. But in this case, place a $5 bet on a money line bet, win, and you get $150. It's that simple, folks. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. Make sure you follow Jannelle Moore on Twitter at Jannelle12. She's obviously posting links to her phenomenal content on ESPN's Andscape, the Mercury News, and so much more. And Locked On, meanwhile, has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. And you can follow me real fast on Threads at Dog Wild. Let's hear what Steve Kerr had to say before we get into the third quarter. In part 1 of our broadcast tonight, this is our second part, too much to discuss for 30 minutes. We heard Andrew Wiggins talking about that final play in the fourth quarter where he opted not to foul Chet Holmgren, and Chet Holmgren turned around and the 7-footer nailed the 3-pointer that washed away was supposed to be an Andrew Wiggins game winner. Did not happen because Holmgren hit that 3 to tie it. And we heard from Wiggins, but we haven't heard from Steve Kerr on why they did not commit a foul. Jannelle, you brought up the point that maybe there just wasn't enough time and that a foul would have resulted in 3 free throws. Let's hear what Steve Kerr has to say on the topic.
I mean, you get the Wiggins 3 late, obviously. Chet hits the game tying 3. Was there thought to foul, or do you feel like you can foul?
We only wanted to foul if it was a clean foul, because at that time, if somebody catches, I've seen a lot of plays where you foul early and they still give the guy a shooting foul. So you got to be really careful. So we switched, and Wiggs got a good challenge. Chet just made an incredible shot.
Here's what I do know, Jannelle. The numbers, and I don't have it in front of me. I'm gonna have to find it for the next show when I can do some preparation and do some research, because we start these immediately after the broadcast. So unfortunately, a lot of what we discuss is conjecture, unlike one of our midday shows where we get a chance to sit down and kind of plot out what we're going to talk about, get to do, again, some research into analytics. So I don't know what the numbers are right now. I'm going to have to look into it. But I'm positive I've heard so-called experts say that the analytics show it is far and away the smart choice to foul the other player. I understand what Steve Kerr said there, that there is a risk that you foul them, they get into the shooting motion right at the same moment, and suddenly you have 3 free throws, right?
Right. And I hate to interrupt, but I saw a still of the play on X. And right is 1.6 seconds, and Chet had his back to Wiggins, and Wiggins could have hacked him across the chest.
Thank you.
He was not in shooting motion.
Thank you. That is exactly, in part one, I kept saying I was going back to the memory banks, and my memory served me correct. Thank you, because I kept thinking there was clearly enough time. When I heard Wiggins explain his answer, that made no sense to me. Thank you for saying that. So just to confirm,
if you go to my homie Tamir's page,
retweet it. So it's on your page. Retweet it.
Okay, his handle is real one Tamir.
That's what I thought too. But retweet it. So
I did.
Thank you. Thank you. So everyone, just go to Jannelle Moore's Twitter account at Jannelle12. She retweeted the video that has that final play. I'm sure it's all over the place. But if you want to see it conclusively, go to at Jannelle12. That is Jannelle Moore's handle on Twix. And that's what I thought I saw too, was that there was more than ample opportunity for Andrew Wiggins to simply foul him, and well before he had a chance. Because I remember him like turning around, positioning, and 1.6 seconds is more than enough time.
Right upon entry, Chet had his back to Wiggins. All Wiggins had to do was hack Chet across the chest or something.
Thank you. That's what I thought too. And look, on this show, we can't play NBA highlights because they do violate copyright. The NBA, unlike other sports leagues, is not very vindictive when it comes to violations of copyright. What they normally do with YouTubers or social media accounts is, if you're monetizing it, they'll just take your money and let you air it. It's brilliant marketing, because the NBA has grown as a sport by letting people use their highlights for social media and whatnot. But for an organization like Locked On, we cannot do stuff like that. So I cannot play highlights on this program. I wish I could, but it's out there. Jannelle just retweeted that specific play on her Twitter account. Again, at Jannelle12 is your Twitter handle. That highlight is there. And I strongly believe, and thank you for confirming, that they butchered that play. Chet Holmgren should have been fouled. That was a loss. That was a game they gave away. They had it. And that just frustrates me to no end now that confirmation.
I don't even think they were in the buck. I think they had a foul. Didn't they have a foul to give? I don't remember. I don't even think there was any inkling of either team being in a bonus situation.
Well, I have the fourth quarter box score right here. I don't know if I've looked. Yeah, I guess we can find out right here. Wait. Fourth quarter, the Warriors had. It would have been the fifth foul. So it would have been the bonus regardless. But who cares? It would have been 2 free throws. I mean, it's irrelevant. I mean, the Warriors were up by 3. So free throws or not, they win. I mean, and again, I don't know. I'm a firm believer in
that was a dumb decision.
That was just dumb. Yeah, there's no defense of that, and I'm sorry, but that Steve Kerr attribution just makes no damn sense. Yeah, and Gimji Gawk adds why
does make any sense anymore.
Yeah, and again, this is going to be, there are a lot of people out there that until the day comes when Steve Kerr moves on, that they're going to be loyal to Steve. He was the head coach for 4 championships. I understand that when I criticize him, some of you get upset about it. But look, in 2014 actually is when he got hired. He was the right coach at the right time, okay? Clearly, this team is a dynasty, and he was the head coach for it. But these are different times. This is a different circumstance, different roster. And I do firmly believe that, I don't, maybe firmly believe is not the right word, but this might be a job for someone else. Like this is a team that needs someone to develop the youngsters. This is a team that needs to adjust on the fly. You don't have a roster that's stacked. Like you don't have a death lineup anymore for starters, right? That made life so much easier for Kerr to have a 5-man unit that you just throw out there anytime something was going wrong and they took care of business for you, right? Like you don't have that anymore. You need ingenuity in your coaching now. And I just don't know if he's the right person for the job at this point. It's very unfortunate. Anyway, so Jannelle, we're gonna have a lot more to discuss in just a moment. But it seems like we're on the same page in that regard, that they should have fouled. They blew it. And the Warriors now have a 6-game losing streak. We have a lot more to discuss. Need to give some love first, though. I feel like I just talked about this company, and that's because we just had a show. This is part 2 of a 2-parter tonight. It was not planned, but Jannelle and I have so much to discuss. So PrizePicks is right back on the docket. And folks, look, PrizePicks is super easy in terms of a concept. You're simply picking a minimum of 2 players, a maximum of 6 players, and with each player, you just need to decide whether or not they're going to score more or less than a certain amount. They're going to grab more or less than a certain number of rebounds, assists, passing yards. The sports are limitless. The stats are limitless. All you have to do is pick a minimum of 2 players, a maximum of 6 players, and you could win with a 6-person bet up to 25 times your money. And it's super fun. Here in California, it's legal because it's considered daily fantasy sports. Go check it out. PrizePicks is super fun. And right now, they've got a great promo where whatever you put in up to $100, they're going to match it. So whatever money you start with, you're going to actually play with double that amount. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. One more time, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts. We're going to be right back at this on Monday night with Kylan Mills joining me for postgame following the Warriors and Rockets. And see, I'm telling you, man, no matter what, if I criticize Kerr, there's always going to be folks in there defending him, regardless of how irrational or asinine it is. Roland Smart here saying it was a catch and shoot. Incorrect. If you foul them before the motion, and what Bob Fitzgerald and Kelena Azubuike were saying on the broadcast is very true. If we try living in a world that's realistic, and what I mean by that is they could have easily told the referees before that play, we're going to foul him, okay? Keep your eyes extra close on us because we're not going to foul him if he goes into the shooting motion, right? And that was not a catch and shoot, as you just revealed. He had to literally set his feet after he initially caught it. Kelena Azubuike at first thought that his feet were on the line, because he had to literally turn around and his feet were nearly out of bounds in the play. There's no excuse for that. If you want to sit here and be a Kerr apologist, more power to you. I understand if you love him, but he screwed the pooch on that play. There's no excuse for that. Jannelle, we were talking last show about the fact that this game was not necessarily lost at the end of the fourth quarter, although that was clearly a huge part of it, but that it was actually the third quarter where everything started to turn around. The Warriors led 79-61, and then slowly but surely they let the Thunder get back into it. First, it was a 13-2 run. The only adjustment we saw when Kerr finally made an adjustment was swapping out Stephen Curry, who was looking a little tired, and he brought Chris Paul in. That was all we saw, and that 13-2 run turned into a 22-6 run. All of a sudden, before you know it, the Thunder get the lead back, and the rest is history. Let's hear it from Steve Kerr real fast in terms of what he has to say about that play. And then one more time, Jannelle, if you don't mind, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what went wrong during that portion and maybe what you would have done differently. Because I've expressed my feelings plentiful. I'd love to hear what you have to say, Jannelle, on what you think they should have done in that moment. But first, here's Steve Kerr talking about that play.
I thought it wasn't overtime. I thought the game went wrong. kind of mid-third, we turned it over 4 straight times. We completely lost our focus, and the game went from like 15 to 6, and we gave them life. So, a young, talented team like that, you let them off the hook, they're going to make you pay, and that's what happened.
Jannelle, what would you have done differently? Could the Warriors have done something differently? What would you have done?
Yes, they could have. And for me, I would have called another timeout to really get them settled offensively. And, quite frankly, they had not only that they had those consecutive turnovers, they did have some bad shots. What was going well for them was that pick and roll action with Wiggins and I believe Kuminga in some stretches. That's what they should have gone with. They shouldn't have swapped out, whoever they swapped out for Pods and Kuminga. They should have kept that lineup that had that momentum and that same energy going and let them finish out the quarter. That's what I would have done.
Great call.
I would have taken Steph out, but I get why he did, to keep his minutes low or whatever. But no, he should have played that lineup that was working. They should have finished out the quarter. Should have called a timeout and regrouped offensively, got some easier shots, and finished out that quarter instead of subbing out. That's what I would have done.
I heard this quote the other day. Stephen Curry did an interview where I think he was asked like who are the players he would have loved to play with, and I think he mentioned Jordan, Shaq, and Hakeem. Right? Yeah. Did you hear that too, or at least read that somewhere?
I heard that.
Yeah, and I interviewed Stephen Curry a couple years ago, and I personally asked Steph, would you want more size on this team? He did not even hesitate. He said yes. He mentioned in that interview right there, or the one we're talking about. It was on another show. I can't remember which one, and whatever. I'm not going to mention the competition anyways. That 2 of the 3 players he envisions playing with are bigs. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most monstrous forces that's the NBA's ever seen. Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the most innovative, most diverse bigs this game has ever seen, at least in that era. And it just makes me think, like, why has this team never tried to give Steph a big to play with? Because Steph and Curry talked about how unstoppable a pick and roll would have been with him and Shaq, him with Hakeem. I mean, Michael Jordan's a whole other beast, but what are your thoughts? Like, I would go crazy in the most positive way imaginable if this team brought a dominant big. We had one for a moment once in DeMarcus Cousins. Unfortunately, it was not the same DeMarcus, and he got hurt that year, and it just didn't work out. And DeMarcus Plus doesn't really, I don't know if he was the right type of big, but what do you think about that? I mean, do you wish the team had a big? Do you think they would, I guess what frustrates me too is that I don't think they're doing enough for Steph in these last years of his prime, and surrounding him with some size, some brute force to make life easy would be awesome. What are your thoughts about that, Jannelle?
I think that would be great, but here's the thing. The Warriors don't want a big for the sake of being big. They don't want a big for no reason.
Correct.
You have to have a big that's skilled into whatever system they play.
Right.
And the one big that encompassed that was Andrew Bogut. And there's not been a big to emulate that. But that's the thing. They need to come to the realization that they might not get the big that could really incorporate themselves in the system fully. But what Kerr needs to do is to adapt to the skill set of said big and get, incorporate what that big is a strength in, as well as trying to get the big to acclimate into the split action sets and all of that stuff that they run.
Yeah, I just wish they would at least try. That just bums me out to no end. I'm seeing in the chat, by the way, a few people mentioned that Lauri Markkanen is on the market. I have no idea if that's true. I do know that at some point, sooner than later, he's going to want a new contract. Probably he's going to want a max deal, and the question is going to be raised: will Utah do that, right? I mean, the Utah market is not necessarily synonymous with handing out huge monster deals. Have you heard anything about that? Like, is this just literally people just shooting the what because it's interesting, or is there truth to this?
I think at this point it's hearsay and people just shooting the ish about what they would like.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
If I hear an official word, then we can have those conversations. But until then, it's just wishful thinking.
Yeah. It's what do you feel about the fact that the Warriors, despite being relatively undersized, they're proving that you don't necessarily need size to win the rebounding battle. I've at least heard a lot of players say it's not necessarily the size of the player, it's the fight of the dog that wins the rebounding battle. And that notion is being confirmed by the Warriors right now. They're number 2 in the NBA in offensive rebounding, which is astounding. They're number 1 in the NBA in second chance points, also astounding. Yet despite that, they have a 6-game losing streak. They have a 6-8 record. Look at the data tonight, the stats. The Warriors won the rebounding battle tonight against the Thunder. The Thunder grabbed 47 rebounds. The Warriors grabbed 49. The Thunder had 9 offensive rebounds. The Warriors had 14. The Warriors won the second chance points battle 21-13. Now, the category where the Warriors are routinely getting slaughtered is points in the paint, where they are dead last in the NBA, and they got killed again in that category tonight, 54-36. What do you see anything in those numbers? Is there any interpretation there? Is rebounding overrated? Maybe is the points in the paint stat more representative of where you need size? What are your thoughts about those numbers so far for the Warriors?
Rebounding is never overrated. Boxing out is never overrated. That's what you do to get your team into position to either 1, make stops, or 2, give them second chance points, which is valuable and at a premium. But the issue is points in the paint. That's where size is needed. That's where a deterrent is needed. And the Warriors don't have that.
You're absolutely right.
Not even when Draymond comes back.
You're absolutely right. Look at Ken Mama bringing up JaVale McGee. I still think he would have been the perfect player for the Warriors this season. He's doing.
He would have gave him vertical space, and JaVale would have had enough of sense to know that he could eat being a vertical lob threat and with vertical spacing.
Yeah, my patience is running low in terms of players that quote unquote fit the culture. To me, the culture is Steph, right? If Steph's okay with it, everyone else should be okay with it. That's my philosophy on what's going on with the Warriors.
Okay, here's the thing. If Steph Curry wanted to have a big so bad, he would have had a big a long time ago if he would have spoken up.
Do you think though maybe like
kind of pull and what kind of power he has? He could have had a big. He could have anything he want in that organization if he would use his voice more. I get it. He do not want to rock the boat. He's a guy that just want to keep it. Don't want to make as many waves as possible, but sometimes you got to.
Yep. And as Genji Gok right here writes,
if he wants to win and if he wants title number 5, he's going to have to make some waves.
Yep.
He's going to have to speak up for himself and say something.
He does not. He is not proactive behind the scenes the way LeBron James is. I think that's fair to say. Genji Gok, I agree that Steph is he's a very nice person, right? It's just, I don't know if it's in him to be like this demanding, loud voice. I just don't know if that's who he is.
It's not in him, and he don't even have to be a loud or demanding voice. There's no ways for him to say, "Hey, yo, get me some help." He don't have to be a loud and demanding voice. He just have to just speak up and say, "Yo,
Agreed.
This is what I need." And he don't have to be loud or rude to do that. He just has to say something.
I wholeheartily agree. We're up against the clock. We got to bounce, unfortunately. Mitchell, brother, I would love Andre Drummond. I don't think the Warriors would do it, though. Would you like Andre Drummond or the Warriors? Your thoughts really fast. 10 seconds.
No.
Rather not have him, just stick with what they have the way they is.
No, there got to be somebody younger out there in the market.
There you go.
You know, that there has to be some kind of moves made. You know, but I don't think Drummond would be the answer immediately.
He wouldn't hurt, but I hear what you're saying.
Wouldn't
I totally
hurt,
hear what
but
you're saying.
would he be enough of an answer?
Who knows? Who knows? This sucked tonight. Not the show, the game. Jannelle, love you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.